AZRX is working on a COVID treatment. And with me to update us on exactly where they are with that is CEO James Sapirstein. And James, great to see you again. And I think last time we talked, we were getting a lot of vaccinations, but it feels like we've even made a lot of progress in the past month or so with kind of, getting rid of COVID, or at least suppressing it. So what can you tell me about what you're working on?
Well, we certainly have, right? Lots of big cities around the country are opening up. People are going maskless now, which is terrific progress. However, we still see that COVID is rearing its ugly head around the world, and not every nation can go maskless yet, but thankfully we can. We're still working on a therapeutic, and there's a lot of therapeutics that are being looked at the FDA. Our particular drug, the change since I last spoke to you was that we've had to change our protocol. We were looking at admitting patients who were hospitalized and then transitioning over to an oral medication. However, the number of hospitalizations is so far down since we last spoke that we've had to go back to the FDA and ask them to change our protocol to just look at patients who are being treated as outpatients. So as the pandemic progresses, we have to progress ourselves. So we're still waiting for our first patient to join, even though all our sites are open. But we have since then expanded our sites to the Ukraine and to India, and those sites will be opened up in July, just in the next month.
Okay. Well, that's a good point, because we're, enjoying somewhat freedom here, but so many parts of the world are not quite there yet. So that's where you're targeting, it sounds like.
We are, and we will continue to look at the long haulers, as we call them, or long COVID. Since we last spoke, there's been a lot of information out there, specifically with these folks who are getting, these side effects, brain fog. They're still testing positive for the virus. Lots of folks are saying, well, I've had COVID already, I'm not going to get vaccinated. And that's really the wrong approach because COVID is still in their system. They can still spread it, quite frankly. They should get vaccinated so they don't get any worse. There are plenty of cases being reported where patients who have been vaccinated are still getting COVID. And those are some of the variants and the mutations that are out there. So we need a product that's going to eradicate the virus from the body, especially the long haulers, and that's what we're working on. It's called niclosamide. Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned the vaccines, as good as they are not 100%. I mean, we have heard, and they, the clinical trial data showed that they were 94% effective and so forth, which is amazing, but still 6%. So, and so there will be still some people who get it. There will be, variants, as you mentioned. So there's still a market. Still a market for this treatment. And tell me how the treatment works too. Is this a pill? How does it work?
Yeah, so it's a capsule, and it's a micronized version of niclosamide that's been around since 1982 as an anti-parasitic. It'll have to be taken twice a day, but we have a much lower dose that's currently available. And you don't have to take bucket loads of this capsule. You just take 2 small ones. You usually will be on treatment from anywhere to 4 to 6 weeks. That's what we need to test in our phase 2 trials. And hopefully it eradicates the virus, takes it right out of the GI tract, and it doesn't allow the spread to the lungs and the cardiac tissue.
Now, you explained you're still looking to get the trials started. So where does this, do you have a timetable? And I know this is subject to a lot of different variables, but do you have any kind of timetable, an ideal timetable that you could see where this might actually be able to be in use?
Yeah, so we have our sites open. We're just waiting for the first patients. But once we start getting patients coming in, we quickly believe that by word of mouth, we'll get patients in. We actually are developing a website to help us in our recruiting. I'll have that out there fairly soon, probably within a couple of weeks. So when patients are feeling, they have GI upset or diarrhea from COVID, they should be able to Google that and it'll bring them right to our website and they'll know which facility to go to. We have at this point well over 15 sites spread out around the United States. We have our largest one is in Houston right now. We're opening up one in New York as well. So all the big cities and even some of the small towns, we have some small towns in Texas where COVID has been a hot spot that we've opened. Obviously, we're going to do some international work in Europe and in India as well. So we do expect once these larger sites are open, this trial will enroll very, very quickly.
Okay. Well, I would look forward to an update when you start to kind of get some of that data in and see how that's working for you, James. That would be great to hear about that.
I appreciate that. Go out and enjoy this great weather.
Thank you.